10 years ago, my son James was murdered. This is my story. I wouldn't want no one to know like what it's like, to be honest with you. I wouldn't want them like to know and like know how it feels like to like be the way I'm feeling, like the way I think. You know what I mean? I'm a like totally different person, and like I'll never be the person like I was. What's happened to me? It's ripped my soul out. When they killed him, they killed a piece of me.
James Bulger's body was found on a railway line on Valentine's Day, 1993. He was just 2 years old, the second child of Ralph and Denise Bulger. Their first baby, Kirsty, was stillborn. The family home was in Kirby, near Liverpool.
James was a cute little kid. He loved everything. You know what I mean? A bit like mischievous, in his little ways at the time. He had a little pub, he loved that. Just like a normal kid, getting a taste of life. To get a taste of life, and then he's had it ripped away from him.
On a Friday morning 10 years ago, Ralph went off to fit a wardrobe for his brother-in-law after kissing James and Denise goodbye.
James, described by his father as chatty and bubbly, disappeared from a shopping centre yesterday afternoon. 2 youths caught on camera, apparently leading him away.
If you've got me baby, just bring them back.
Well, he's bubbly, get on with anyone, sort of thing,
Today, Frogman intensified their search, and the police are making an urgent appeal for the boys who were seen with James in a nearby street to come forward.
I thought, they're only kids, you know what I mean? It's only kids, that's got him. He thought it was, I'll be alright. That was, what I really thought, I'll be alright. Kids are not gonna, do nothing to him, you know what I mean?
Ralph and myself went upstairs and chatted how the police were doing their best to be in touch with him and to keep them aware of what was happening. But just the pain of it all, the not knowing, and the guilt feeling of a parent.
The police say James Bulger, the 2-year-old boy whose body was found in Liverpool yesterday, was horrifically murdered before being hit by a train.
The blurred images of the 2 youths seen taking him away are now all over the city.
The coroner in Liverpool described it as the most dreadful and shocking case he'd been involved in 25 years. More floral tributes have been laid at the embankment where James's body was found. The sense of grief and outrage of the local community does not seem to have abated.
The worst part for them was that they weren't allowed to see James. They didn't know when they would be allowed to see him. They didn't know when his body would be released to them. And so there was that waiting.
How do you tell your wife the way your son died? You know what I mean? How do you start? How do you end? There's so many feelings, so many emotions there. Your head's bubbling all the time. And the worst thing, I just thought how can I tell her? How can I tell her the way James was murdered? What's the best way of putting it? There's no best way of putting it.
The murder of this little boy has triggered revulsion and self-doubt across the country. What does a horror like this tell us about the society we live in? The child's murder does appear to touch us all, to wrap the nation in a sense of collective guilt.
5 days later, police charged 2 local boys with the murder of James Bulger. They were just 10 years old. For people everywhere, there was shock and confusion.
A week's emotion, a week's anger spilled out onto the streets of Liverpool today as the boys accused of killing little James Bulger appeared in court. A crowd of people surged at police line. There were screams of abuse and scuffles. 6 people were arrested.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I ask you to rise for a 1-minute silence in memory of young James Bulger?
Well, my brother identified the body because, like, they wouldn't let me see James. Everyone thought it was a cabbage. So, like, I didn't even get to see my son at all, did I? Say the lady for him, mutilate him. Couldn't have an open coffin and all, you know what I mean? Because the fucking bastard's gone. I remember carrying the little white coffin. That was probably the hardest thing I've done in my life. Every parent's nightmare, really.
James's funeral was held on a bitterly cold day in March 1993. It was broadcast live in the UK and shown across the world. Father Michael O'Connell, the priest who had comforted the Bulgers in their grief, led the service.
Denise and Ralph, our hearts, everyone's heart here, absolutely goes out to you. And we wish that we could turn the clock back. We wish so much that we could bring James back to you both, and to all of us. But we can't.
Yeah, I made. He used to like always jump on the couch and see him roll off a few times. I thought, I don't know why, I just thought like, I'll make him a chair. So like, that's just, really, like, it's just coming out of chill, like, just love, like, love for your son, you know what I mean? Like, that's the only way I can put it. I loved him. I was like, I made it for him. I was happy doing it, you know what I mean? Like, it gave me a warm feeling doing it. Like, I was made up like every time I seen him like sit in it. I was trying to be a proper father, you know what I mean? Trying to be all I could for him. But even that was ripped away from me. Thinking back now, it's like James was everyone's like kid. You know what I mean? Like all the public, like, you know what I mean? Like people's hearts are so big, you know what I mean? Like they felt like, to me, like they felt our pain. They could feel our pain, you know what I mean?
guilt feeling of a parent. Like Ralph has said, I should have been there, I should have been with him. And Denise's guilt, it's like, yes, I should have taken more care of him. I shouldn't have let his hand go, or I shouldn't have let him out of my sight, or just all that repercussions that we blame ourselves with. All that was there. And it was a terrible place to be in.
I just want to think about James like the last day I've seen it, you know what I mean? But like I can't like think of that. Like what like sticks in my head now is like what I've been told, like what's happened to me, you know what I mean? That like I think to myself, he must have been kind for me. He must have wanted me. He must have wanted me to be there to like help him, to save him. And like I weren't there.
Nine months after the murder of Ralph's son James, the trial of his two young killers began.
Like, I remember being in the courthouse and we're seeing them for the first time. Like, be honest with you, all I could feel was like hate. You know what I mean? Feel like pure hate, like you've never felt before, like in your life. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Seems a bit sad to like think yourself like you could hate two kids like that much. You know what I mean?
Two 11-year-old boys have been found guilty of murdering James Bulger. The judge said it was an act of unparalleled evil and brutality. Tonight, who they were. Child A has now been named as Robert Thompson. Child B is John Venables. The judge said they were cunning and very wicked. And what will happen to them? Detained in secure units, the court was told, for very, very many years.
Two months later, the trial judge set the sentence at 8 years. This decision ignited a bitter debate about justice and retribution, a maximum sentence for the killers or the chance of rehabilitation, the rights of the victims versus the rights of two children.
I want them to get life, whether they were kids or not, to be honest with you. Like it totally freaked me out, tell you. It was like, I had to sit there, like day by day, while the two little bastards were like laughing about like fucking killing my son, about fucking mutilating him, you know what I mean? Like I had to sit there, while they're like sitting there sniggering, you know what I mean?
The controversial trial of James Bulger's killers was front-page news across the world. It was a story that Tom Laughlin, a human rights lawyer in North Carolina, could not ignore.
I was both shocked and appalled that 10-year-old children were being tried as adults, and especially in England, which the legal community in the U.S. has always regarded as being quite progressive. The most important principles that I think were violated by the Bulger trial in November of '93 are, number one, children as young as 10 and 11, both legally and morally, should not be tried as adults. Secondly, children that young are not able to get a fair trial. And they can't get a fair trial because they're too young and immature to instruct counsel. And thirdly, I think in any legal proceeding with children that young, the best interest of the child has to be the paramount thing taken into account. That was not done in this case. Children are not born evil. It's very clear to anyone who is not ignorant that a 10-year-old child has, science has established, only about 40% of the brain development as an adult.
I've got like a 4-year-old daughter now, and she knows right from wrong, you know what I mean? They definitely knew what they were doing. Like, there's no like way or doubt about it that you can say. They didn't know, like, yeah, I'll pick this up, I'll smash his skull in with this. Like, I'll do this, I'll take his pants off, we'll drag him onto the track, because he'll be cut in half, you know what I mean? Because, like, he'll be severed. Aye.
John Venables and Robert Thompson held up a very disturbing mirror to society. And when society saw what was in that mirror, it recoiled, but rather than say, well, wait a minute, we've got to do better, it became, I guess it's human nature. It is, you know, kill the messenger rather than look at the message. And so these boys became very demonized and very hated by a large segment of society.
Flying to and from England at his own expense, Tom Laughlin began an 8-year battle to free the boys. He first filed a complaint with the European Commission of Human Rights in 1994, arguing that the trial had been unfair. But within months, Home Secretary Michael Howard took the side of those arguing for an increase to the boys' sentence and set it at 15 years. Laughlin then mounted a legal challenge to reverse this decision.
Good evening. A civilized society regards children who murder as different from adults who murder. So ruled England's Court of Last Resort today, overruling the decision of the former Home Secretary Michael Howard, who had increased the sentences on the 10-year-old boys who murdered 2-year-old James Bulger.
I would dismiss both the appeal of the Secretary of State and the cross-appeals of the two respondents.
The law lords say Michael Howard acted unlawfully in taking account of public clamour when he increased the sentences of John Venables and Robert Thompson.
He took account of a petition handed into the Home Office by James Bulger's parents. It was signed by more than 250,000 people. Another 20,000 sent in coupons from the Sun. It was a victory for Robert Thompson and his co-defendant John Venables, who were just 10 years old when they murdered James Bulger. His parents were disgusted by today's ruling.
At the end of the day, it was a victory for murderers. How was that possible? For me, it was like a knife in the back. They had like rights all the way through. Where was James's rights? You know what I mean? They had rights all the way through. What was James's only right? The right to die, the right to be murdered. I thought we'd have got justice. I thought that the state would have been there for us. You know what I mean? And really, like, at the end of the day, like, all I've seen from it is, like, Thompson and Venables, like, get the best of everything. Get, like, put in a secure unit. Like, nothing's happened to them. Never went to a proper prison. So, what have they taught them? Yeah, it's all right. Quote, murder a child. The state's saying, like, we'll look after you. You know what I mean?
It was a victory for all juveniles in the UK. Certainly it was a victory for Robert Thompson and John Venables in the sense that had we not won it, they would have been a political football, and they probably would have had their humanity destroyed by being sent to an adult prison and punished far into adulthood for something they did at the tender age of 10.
Look at what they done. Know what I mean? Look exactly what they done. Like, they weren't just like pleased with killing him and fucking beating him to death. They had to fucking put him on a track to like sever his body in half. Like this is my son. Yeah, just leave it for a bit. It's hard waking up every morning knowing you got that much hate in you and you can't get rid of it. It's like a cancer, like gets a grip of you and grows, you know what I mean? Like it's something like you can't stop. I can't stop because it was my son. It was like my son, like it was being murdered. I love my son, like they ripped everything away from him.
The priest who comforted Ralph after James was murdered in 1993 now lives in Cork, Ireland. When Ralph flew to visit Father Michael O'Connell, he had not seen him for 8 years.
Nice to see you, mate. It's good to see you. You look different.
Yeah. It was nice around here.
This is brilliant. And that statue up there, that was actually on the top of the house.
I'll be honest here. I've come over to talk to you because I don't really know what to do anymore.
In a way, your whole world is turned upside down because of James.
It's like, it hasn't got any easier through the years, you know what I mean? Everyone says like, oh, it'll get like easier with time. Doesn't.
No, it doesn't. Time doesn't cure it.
So,
what stage would you like to be at? How would you like to be?
Well, I'd like to not be snapping all the time, or being dead snappy and like being so full of hate. You know what I mean? I think I can like eat it up, kinda. No, just like I'd like to be a person like I used to be, really. You know what I mean? But like say when they killed James, I think they killed that person.
They killed something in you as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
The killing of James affected you. But more than that, not just the killing, the after effects of all that. The pressure that came on from the media and other people.
It's like a dream, innit? You know what I mean?
A bad
you
dream.
Can't get out of it. And we're like, this is real life, you know what I mean? There's no stopping it. That's all it feels like, a big knot in my chest all the time, you know what I mean? Sometimes you feel like you can't breathe with it. So bad it gets.
A big heavy knot. And you want to...
No, I don't want to feel like that all the time.
What's the knot made up of?
I say hate. That's all I can think it is. Even the government didn't really get no help there, did they?
Hatred against the two boys?
Yeah. And the system.
And the system again.
Yeah.
What else is in there?
me ate myself was like, I weren't really there for him. I weren't there, I should have been there. Oh, it's still hard, like, sorry.
Is that lump there again?
Yeah, like, I don't know how to angle it. So I feel like I go a few rounds on the bag now.
And if you were punching the bag now, what would you be saying?
I'd be saying nothing, I'd just be hitting it. I'd be thinking about it, like Thompson and Venables, isn't it? It just makes you look like hit it harder, doesn't it?
But at the end of the day, it doesn't free you up.
No, just makes you tired, doesn't it? Wears you out a bit more.
Right. So it makes you tired and it wears you out a bit. And it kind of drops some of the tension. It lowers the temperature, but the volcano is still there.
Yeah.
The hurt and the
It's
anger.
always there.
The hurt is always there. A nasty question. What would life be like for you if you let it go? If it went away?
In the years following James's death, Ralph and Denise continued their legal battle to keep their son's killers detained. Behind this public campaign, grief dominated their lives.
You have a couple who've lost their most precious child, and they're just in bits. There's support coming from family, great support from family and from general public. The cards and the messages of sympathy was just super and kept them going. But bottom line, you've got two people who are hurting extremely, hurting very much. And they're tearing themselves apart inside.
The night, I suppose, I'd more or less drink myself and senseless. More or less stopped eating, kept drinking. Like, the fact, like, I was just killing myself. But couldn't see it at the time. So now I suppose, like, the pressure just got too much for me.
After the death of a child, that when you look at your wife, you look at your child's mother, you see that child even more so. You know, there's a double reminder there. Also, for a wife looking at the father of her child.
Something like that, like, it either brings you closer together, or like it rips you apart. You just go like your own ways. You go your separate ways. we turned into two entirely different people, you know what I mean? Two, like, how can I put it, like chalk and cheese, you know what I mean?
Ralph and Denise had been married for 4 years. Despite having a new baby son, the damage to their relationship had been too great.
I left Denise for me, for my sake, for what was going on in my head, you know what I mean? It weren't because I had another woman or, you know what I mean? Like, it was something like I had to do for myself. Otherwise, like, I'd probably, like, I don't know, I probably ended up stopping myself, to be honest with you. To be, like, totally honest, I probably would have.
I actually think that Ralph and Denise did really well to hold their marriage together for so long after their bereavement. But obviously the pain and the hurting and the grieving was just too much. They were under such intense pressure, especially for Ralph.
That pressure was to continue. The petition to the European Commission of Human Rights, which Tom Laughlin had filed in 1994, was finally heard, 5 years later.
The two boys who were convicted of murdering James Bulger were denied a fair trial because their case was dealt with by an adult court. That's the verdict of the European Commission of Human Rights.
It was a horrific case, and it produced a historic ruling.
The court holds that there has been a violation of Article 6, Paragraph 1 of the Convention in respect of the applicant's trial.
The father of James Bulger says he's devastated that his legal attempt to block the early release of his son's killers has failed.
The law has taken its course, the politicians have been unable to interfere with it, and the result, John Venables and Robert Thompson are free on licence for the rest of their lives.
Took a life. They took a life. They should pay for it. You know what I mean? They should pay for it. And they haven't. They've been rewarded for it. That's the way I think they have been rewarded for it. They've had the best of everything. Wrong message, the way I see it. That's the wrong message.
I realize there are a lot of people who say that justice has not occurred in this case because the two boys have not been punished. How would I answer that? I would answer that this way. First of all, both of these boys, at almost the youngest age imaginable, 10, were incarcerated for over 8 years in maximum security confinement. Now, in addition to the onerous incarceration which they suffered, they lost all the rest of their childhood and every bit of their adolescence. Indeed, they're totally different people now than they were when they were 10. And indeed, I would ask each adult out there that's listening to me, are you the same as you were at 10? There has been a lot of work done in the case of Robert Thompson and John Venables by their caretakers that seems to have gone wonderfully well. And all of that would be wasted if they were not in a legal position now to realize their full human potential. John Venables, he's blossomed tremendously. He made this for me. As you can see from that, is a very talented and creative person. He actually won a national award with making a ceramic peacock with multicolored feathers.
I'd just love Laughlin to be in my shoes for just one day, thinking about me and James for just one day. Sit down, like, just think, like what he's done, like the consequences that it's had on us. You know what I mean? And like, instead of like thinking about it, then just think, like, just one day. That's all. Like, all I'd ask. Think one day and like think what you've done. You know what I mean?
I think a society can and should be judged by the way it treats its children, and it's got to treat children like Robert and John humanely, even if it means paying for parents who have lost children. But unfortunately, a lot of times to accomplish the greater good in life, we have to go through some pain. Under the rule of law, justice has been done in this case.
The wound Ralph suffered at the loss, what happened to James, has been kept open. And it's been kept stirred. A court case keeps it open because it's just, okay, yes, we've had a funeral, but now we've got to face this. After that, they've got to face sentencing. After that, you've got to face appeals, reviews. And in a way, it just hasn't allowed the dust to settle. It's like still blowing around. It's like someone has kept the button on the kettle when it's boiling, and they just now let that button flip out. They just keep it boiling. But from Rab's point of view, he's not allowed to rest, really.
Well, I think without question it's been worth the cost to go through it. There may be millions of people who disagree with me or even hate me for doing that, but I say to them, every child is worth trying to save, and that includes these two little boys.
What about like some care, like to them kids like who like proper need it? You know what I mean? The state just doesn't care. It does not care at all. I know from first hand. I've had my heart ripped out. I've tried to fight the state. I've tried to work with the state. Where's it got me? It's got me nowhere.
Ralph still lives in Kirby, where James grew up. He now has a new partner and 3 young girls.
I'm not an educated man, I know. But I've still got feelings. I still hate. I still bleed. You know what I mean? I still love. I just can't understand why it's happened. I'd love things not to have been the way they are. I'm not the person I used to be. That's all part and parcel of what's happened to me. I do seriously think I'm made now. The way Venables and Thompson, what they've done. They've made me the way I am now, the person that I am now. I don't like the person I am now, but I've got to live with it. I find it hard to laugh and joke and have fun with people No, like, you always put like a little front on. Like, put a false smile. It's not a smile. That's just for other people. Like, I know that. Other people don't know that. But, like, I know that myself. Like, so, like, I've got feelings in me. But, like, I wouldn't want other people to, like, have these feelings. Or, like, I wouldn't, like, I don't know, it's hard to say. Oh, of course, a little tiddler. I'll let that go.
Is it easier to hate than to forgive?
Oh, I'd never forgive. To be honest with you, I'd never forgive. Because of what they done.
So in a way, it actually is easier to hate than to forgive.
Couldn't forgive that. That's not in me to forgive them for what they've done.
I have a theory that until the hurt has been healed, we can't forgive. It's like a great big jagged wound, and until the healing happens from inside out, we're not in a position to forgive. We can pull the tops of the wound together and pretend it's okay. But inside the wound is still open and hurting. And in a way, some of that is what happens to us when we're holding on, or when hurt is still there, when hate is still there in us. It's like on the surface you look okay, but inside there's that lump. So some of that pain is kind of you also maybe thinking, I failed him.
Let him down.
I let him down. Can you forgive yourself?
I don't think so, no. There's no, like, everything about me tells me, like, I should have been there. You know what I mean? I went there, couldn't stop it.
And that's the natural parent. That's the caring dad in you, isn't it? It's like, this is my flesh and blood. And you know in your own heart and soul, you'd have done anything for him.
You could give me life now for him, I would.
That's right. If you had a choice, you would. But you weren't given that choice.
I just don't know what to do no more, to be honest with you.
It's like you've tried this, tried that, and you're still carrying the big burden.
I don't know how to handle these feelings. Didn't ask for them, did I?
No, you didn't. And you don't deserve them.
James didn't deserve that, did he?
No, he didn't. But are you helping him by continuing to hurt yourself? By continuing to blame yourself? Even the fact that you're over here talking to me is like saying, I'll try anything to change, to be different, to stop the hate I have, the hurt.
I don't know, maybe I suppose if I do get rid of it, like I'm not letting James down. Again.
Sometimes it's easier to blame ourselves than to actually stop and say, I couldn't have done anything, I wasn't there. But if you let yourself off the hook, what does that do to you?
A part of that's like, to do something like that's like, more or less like I'm saying, like, I forgive them, you know what I mean?
Or is it saying I'm letting go?